Good morning, Turfs Up Radio. Wayne Voles, Profits Unlimited, coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky.
Yes, indeedy.
Oh, my goodness. It is August the 18th. Can y'all believe it? We're over halfway through August. A lot of great things we're going to be talking about today. And may have a special phone call or two today. We'll see how that works out. But here we go. We're rocking and rolling Monday. We're off to a great start here at WLS. Hopefully, you're off to a great start with your business. And one thing leading to the next, man. We got another hot day, talking about highs somewhere in the mid 90s. We'll see, low to mid 90s. No rain or very limited rain opportunity. So we're going to have the boys with BAM Weather on with us Wednesday. Just give you a heads up on that. So looking forward to talking to Matt. And he's always got some good info for us. So I'm looking for that on Wednesday. But here we are rolling around Monday, another week starting off. And, it's really crazy how fast the weeks go. It really is. I mean, I was just sitting here thinking this morning, rode in here about 6:30 this morning and, just sitting here, getting some things together. And I looked at the date and I'm like, it's hard to believe we're ready to rock and roll on into aeration and overseeding. Not going to talk a lot about that today, but probably talk a little bit about it. But it is that time of the year is creeping on us before we know it. Actually did a few kill outs last week and we'll do, I'm sure, several more this week and be rocking and rolling here in a couple weeks with the aerator and overseeder and moving right along with that end of the business. It's always something, but that's good. That's good. That keeps the meter running. We used to joke about it and say, let the meter run. Right. So, hey, that's what we're in business to do. And that's to make a profit. And we make a profit by providing the services that we're good at. And we're going to talk about some of those today as well. So, but tell you a little bit. I want to find out a little bit about your weekend too, and I'll be happy to share some of mine and what I did with you guys as you guys are deciding whether you're going to tell me what you did this past weekend or not. But yeah, we had a good weekend. It was didn't do a whole lot, but Friday was really cool, you all. I've been waiting all weekend to share this with you guys. I actually went out Friday about, I don't know, Friday afternoon, 1:30 or something. Uh, Kyle took me up to the golf place where he golfs in Wildwood Country Club. And we went and hit some golf balls. And that's the first time that I've hit golf balls in about 12 years. I mean, it's been about 12 years. We did go to Top Golf once or twice during that time frame, but that's when my hip was jacked up and couldn't swing and that whole thing. So this was my first time, and I'm just guessing about 12 years, 10 years minimum, I know, that I legitimately went out and hit some golf balls. And Kyle actually asked me the night before, or day before, Thursday, he's like, hey, we're going to go hit some golf balls tomorrow with me. So we did that, and it was really cool, man. It's the first time I actually hit these golf clubs that I bought prior to me not golfing. And it's funny. It was when I got these, Kyle's like, man, you ought to just go ahead and, get these graphite clubs or whatever the heck they were. He said, when you get a little bit older, you're probably going to want a lighter club to swing and whatnot. So that's the first time I think I've used them. I may have used them one time prior to, but it was cool, man, getting out there. I just want to share this with y'all. Just getting out there and doing something that I hadn't done in such a long time. I was really like, this ought to be an adventure. I was really thinking, okay, this is going to be an adventure, going up there and trying to hit some golf balls, and hadn't really swung a club at a golf course, for a while, to say the least. And it went really, really well. I'm just going to say, not to pat myself on the back about it, but I've finally, I guess I figured out that it's kind of like riding a bicycle. I mean, the swing's the swing, and yeah, I mean, I wasn't ready to go out there and beat anybody, although that is my ultimate goal to get out. And y'all know me, I'm very competitive. Or if you don't know that about me, I am very, very competitive. Always have been and probably always will be. I like to win. And so it was neat to go out there and swing the golf ball or golf club, hit the golf ball, see it go, relatively straight. I mean, I hit probably 100, 125 balls. I don't know how many, wasn't counting them. But it's not like you get a bucket of them out there. You hit as many as you want out there. If you want to hit 10, you hit 10. If you want to keep going for 3 hours, you hit 3 hours. But I don't know. We were out there about an hour, I guess, maybe a little longer. And, went through all my different golf clubs, hitting them from down from the pitch and wedge up to Kyle's driver. I used his driver because mine was retired, if you will. Let's put it that way. Uh, but yeah, and I didn't even have a golf bag. I mean, that's the funny part of it too. Didn't even have a golf bag. So Tabitha brought my golf clubs to me Friday, and she's carrying them in her hands. And God, I don't know where Daniel, one of them, made a joke about not having a golf bag. So, but I didn't. I mean, I wasn't going to go out and buy a golf bag just to put my golf clubs in it. Because my golf bag that I had, Lee Handel, great friend of mine, he does a lot of. He actually works for VA, but he's got a side business called Tech to Go, where he does a whole lot of computer installation and things like that, golf simulators. I mean, anything you imagine technology wise, at least him and a partner have got a really nice side business that they do that on. So after I got my hip replaced and was talking about going golfing, Lee's like, let me have your golf clubs. He said, I'll take and get them re-gripped for you. And he did that. And I mean, these were brand new golf clubs. And he's like, man, they've been sitting there 10 plus years. Hey, let's get you some new grips. So he did. He went and got me some new grips on them. And that's when my my golf bag never made it home. He's like, dude, this golf bag, number one, it's way outdated. Number two, it's dry rotted from sitting around so long. So, but in my golf bag was my shoes too. So, I went to the range without golf shoes the other day, and me and my New Balances worked out really well. I'll say that. So, just tied them up a little bit, Daniel, and me and my New Balances went out there and swung and hit some golf balls and had a good time with it. Like I said, now I'm not going to make it sound like I was out there like Jack Nicklaus or anything. My distance certainly is not what it used to be, and and I did, have a divot or two or three, to say the least. But I did miss hit probably 4 or 5 balls for sure. But other than that, man, it was really a fun adventure. So I hope my next time out, which I don't know when it's going to be, hopefully one day this week or maybe next week at the latest. But looking really forward to it because you want, I guess your swing is your swing, and certainly, I mean, needs to be fine tuned a little bit. And we didn't do any putting at all, just, hit clubs from, like I said, pitch and wedge up to a driver, and had a good time with it. So I wanted to share that with y'all as something I did Friday, and no pain at all, and didn't expect there would be. But by Saturday afternoon, though, late, and I could start to feel it in my left. I'm left-handed, right? So my back leg, from my back leg, the push and the twist, I guess, is about Saturday afternoon. It didn't hurt, and it doesn't hurt, no, by any stretch of the imagination. But I could feel that in my muscle. And Daniel called it. So what'd you call it?
Well, just the soreness
It's
after, a day or up to 3 days usually is delayed onset muscle soreness.
so I was kind of worried about it, and Tab's like, no, you're fine, man. And I thought I did something, mess something up. Corey said Tiger Wayne. I wish, man. But I am excited about getting back out and playing the game again. I ain't going to lie. Because I really did like to play, and I wasn't great. I wasn't great by any stretch of the imaginations. imagination or Shuns, whoever happened to be,
Imagination.
playing. But but I mean, I was a low 80s guy, so I mean, I wouldn't embarrass anybody out there, including myself. But uh, I'm looking forward to getting back out there. So yeah, that's what I did on Friday, and that was awesome. And then went out and did a little house hunting with Katie. And Friday night went and looked at a house with her, and then we went out and had dinner, and then Saturday went pretty easy. Didn't do a whole lot Saturday. Actually, Saturday evening though, we did have a birthday party. Kyle did for my granddaughter and his daughter, Caroline, who is 7 or going to be 7 this week. But they had a pool party for her there in their neighborhood uh, clubhouse thing, and that was really nice. That's a nice pool.
I'm shocked you haven't. That was your
That's
first time
that's my
there.
first time there. Yeah,
That's
and
crazy.
that's they got a really nice pool there, and it was really a fun time. We went over there about 5:30, I guess it was, and stayed till they kicked us out about 8, and had a good time. Had a good time, and it was good seeing her with all of her friends, and they were all having a big time. We got a few weeks left there at the pool, so that's pretty much what I did. Sunday didn't do much yesterday. Uh, excuse me, didn't do a whole lot. Um, Tabitha went to a wedding shower for Caitlin, Daniel's fiance, and that's about it. So that's my weekend. I'm just curious what you guys got into this weekend. Somebody had to do something fun, I would think. Um, I would think y'all had to do something fun. So, absolutely. So, appreciate that text as well. Something I did want to share with y'all as we get on into profit time here, or before we get into profit time, I want to give my buddies a shout out. That's Aaron. Aaron did a great job this morning with his show, and Eric and Jennifer, and then Daniel. So here we are to profit time. So, um, but they all had great shows this morning. So Corey said he had another sold out farmers market. Dude, you need to take more. Take more. Selling out's awesome, man. But hey,
Well, I think according to the people that Aaron has talked to on his show, that's a good thing apparently. Like
yeah,
in the food uh truck or not whatever food,
but yeah,
not restaurant food, but regular,
yeah,
other food. That's kind of like the thing to do.
yeah. So you
Will
don't have
create that
leftovers
will
and
create that demand too.
yeah, well, that's true too. So makes sense. Let people want what they can't have. That's that's the reality of it as well. So congratulations, Corey, on selling out. I think Aaron sold out on hot dogs too Friday, and then Aaron's got another thing going this Friday down at the same credit union. So we'll be sure to give a big shout out on that again, and maybe he'll take a few more dogs this time. So, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
think that's an important thing to think and remember too. Uh, Especially as you're doing the same, like if you're at the same event as you were last year or like from week to week even. Okay, well, I sold out. How many more could I have sold? So then if okay, well, maybe I could have sold 20 more or whatever, like where do you draw that line? I think is an interesting thing to think about too.
yeah,
Like, okay, well, I sold out, let's just say crazy to 10, and there was 1,000 more hot dogs I could have sold. Well, that might not be the place you want to sell out at, but you also might not want to be at 1,000 hot dogs either as the thing either.
right.
So finding that kind of
Sweet
the
spot.
perfect
Yeah,
balance between those two
yeah.
things.
Getting into that sweet spot for you too, and that is true because you try to prepare for too big of a number, and then
Well, I don't think you could go in with the Wayne Voles party planning package. You'd be throwing a lot of hot dogs away.
I think he's making fun a little bit, y'all, just to let everybody know. But I do like to overachieve a lot of times when it comes to what we're going to have. But
Yeah. Two
anyways,
different models, of course.
yeah,
One is
one's
the
a business model, one's a fun model.
yeah.
You know. Oh, let's see. Corey said, "Spot on, Daniel. We switched up uh, based on what sells."
Yeah.
He said, "In the beginning was bacon chocolate chip. Halfway through this season, oatmeal started selling out.
Hmm.
So it's kind of
Interesting.
neat. So a bacon chocolate chip cookie. He's told us about those before. That is definitely a unique cookie, isn't it?
Sounds like it'd be pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, definitely different. Uh, did did somebody try to make those?
Not that I know of, but
Okay, maybe not. Maybe not. I may be dreaming this whole scenario up, but uh, it's fun. The entrepreneurs that we have here on our show, to say the least, that listen to us, and from a varying group of industries too. I mean, we got roofing contractors that listen into us, irrigation contractors, and of course, landscaping and lighting, and mowing and all that. But speaking of which, we got Robin and Timmy Hamilton that are driving back from. Give them a shout out. They speaking of going the extra mile, no pun intended. They drove out to South Dakota to pick a trailer up. They're in the welding and hydraulic business. So for any of you guys in this central part of Kentucky that need any welding and hydraulics, TH Welding and Hydraulics are in Bardstown. Uh, Certainly can get you hooked up on anything you need welding or hydraulic wise. So um, really good business. But yeah, they're driving back now. Matter of fact, Robin sent me a text. They went out there to pick up a trailer from a company. When I say a trailer, it's just literally the frame and tires on it. And Timmy and them, they're going to build an entire box around this trailer for a customer of theirs that's into God. I'm trying to think what like
ATMs.
ATMs. Yeah, ATMs. So they went out there, drove out Friday, left Friday, and picked it up this morning and headed back this way. So we were just out that way, but we were flying. It'd been kind of hard to put that on a plane as a carry on or a check bag. But what about planes having put a hitch on a plane and
There you go.
there you go. Let somebody go and do that before it's over with. Somebody just might do that before it's over with. But hey, I want to give them a big shout out too. So, you guys into today? Y'all doing a little bit of mowing or fert and weed, or what are y'all into today? Here at WLS, we're doing a predominantly a mowing day for us, but we're doing some bed maintenance and fungicide applications. Um, Want to talk a little bit about that. It's that time of the year for grubworm applications, fungicide applications. If you didn't already get your treatment down or your application down, I did pick up a new phone over the weekend and wasn't planning on doing that. But me and Daniel rode up there. He was going to look at a phone, and hell, I ended up going and getting mine too. Um, so we got new phones, Daniel and I. So I will say, um, and shout out to him being a good salesperson. He really tried talking us into waiting a couple weeks. He said, "Man, the new phone's going to be out in a couple weeks. If you want to just wait a couple weeks." And said, "No, I'm not a big bells and whistle kind of guy when it comes to my phone, man. I like it on most things, but the function I got now is pretty daggone good." So, yeah. Good morning, Seth. Appreciate you hopping in with us, my friend. You had a really great weekend. Hope you had a good weekend as well. And let us know what you did so we can share it with everybody on what you did. But getting back to my story on our phones, yeah, we got our phones switched out, and actually, I think even Caitlin switched phones. Um,
Yeah, she went from one of them to
Another
T-Mobile.
provider
Can't
to
remember which one.
over to T-Mobile. So uh,
Hers in the mail today or tomorrow, I guess.
Woohoo! Isn't that crazy to think you get a phone in the mail? I mean, really, it's just it's amazing what just how things are different now. You know, things are different. I mean, that's just progression, though. That's all that is. But I did get a new roof too, and I want to give the company that did my roof a shout out. It's a company here not too far from us called Frederick Roofing. I think I might have shared a story with you all about them, but we're what oh God, three generations down now with them because initially worked with their dad, and then George, who was the son, who's about my age, and then uh, George's son Ryan is the one that actually helped me this time around. So kind of like I was going to say here, but not really. I mean, no, they got an extra generation on us.
Yeah.
They got an extra generation on us. So yeah. But anyway, I want to give them a shout out because they did a really great job. Now, I say a really great job. Let me say this to say that. I don't know that they did a good job on my roof. My roof looks good. Let me put it that way. Okay. But what I know they did a really great job on was cleaning up after themselves. Uh, I mean, everything was put back together the way it should have been on my deck. In other words, on the back side of the house, Daniel, uh, there were some things, they just did a really good job cleaning up after themselves. They moved some things off the deck because I guess they scraped, when they were pulling the old shingles and stuff off the roof, you know. Uh, but they moved everything out of the way so it didn't get all jacked up, and then they cleaned up after themselves really well. So I wanted to give them a shout out on that because it's you're not there, you're not babysitting it, you just trust that the process is going to take care of itself. And I shot Ryan an email today and told him what a good job their crew did, and it was a subcontracted crew that they use. And that kind of stuff doesn't bother me the way it bothers some people, Because, I mean, I know we use subs, and excuse me, I mean, normally your subcontractors are going to do you a great job, or you wouldn't be using them. Same way normally your own crews do a great job, but sometimes you can't please everybody all the time. But I shared that story with you all just because, you know, service industry in general sometimes gets a bad rap, but those guys did a really great job on that, and I wanted to give them a shout out. So let's see. Seth said actually he got a new phone a few weeks ago. They told me the same thing, but he was ready to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
My sole reason was my old phone didn't have the satellite capability to communicate. He said, I'm going to need that in Colorado. That's right.
Huh.
He's got his hunt coming up.
Nice.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool, Seth. Yeah, and that satellite capability is pretty crazy. I wonder if you could use that, Daniel, versus the international plan.
I'm not sure
I didn't even
what
think of
the
that.
satellite thing even is, honestly.
Yeah, it's no, you're welcome, Aaron. You're welcome, Aaron. Um, it's I saw it the other day on a commercial, and I noticed it in my settings on my phone.
Huh.
So I don't know if that just
I wonder if that means you have to subscribe though to like a satellite
probably a
thing.
satellite package.
Like I know like can't remember what it's called right now, but Elon Musk has a satellite service.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I can't remember what it's called. But
So
I wonder if you have to subscribe to that in order to use it on your phone.
and it said it's basically what it's done. It's given them the capability. Uh, and it's funny, on their commercial on TV, what they show somebody doing is driving out west through the mountains and having the same optimum service. So, uh, but we had a really good salesperson the other day. I will say that our normal guy that we use there and have used for years, he was on vacation. Another guy, Adrian, stepped up and did a really great job for us. I want to give him kudos too, man. So With that being said, let's take a short break and we'll get right back to more profit time here on Turfs Up Radio. Your industry, your station. Don't you go anywhere. Wanted to talk a little bit about today something that a significant addition that we did here at WLS last week. We had talked about it off and on for a couple years, literally, and talked about it this year quite a bit. And that is, we decided to pull the trigger on adding, and this isn't a big deal, really isn't a big deal, but it was something that we, you know, thought a lot about and ran numbers on and whatnot. And, what does it make sense for our customers? And that for us was deciding to add another application in our fertilization and weed control program. And, we've talked about it here on Turfs Up quite a bit about, whether it's adding another crew or adding an application or at what point's the best time to add something like that. And, I'd like to step out and say, first of all, it really boils down to what's best for your customers. I think that's where ultimately the decision lands is what's best for your customer and what's best for you, the company. And in between, how do we merge those two things? Because, the definition of a good deal is when both the buyer and the seller are happy. That's ultimately the definition of a good deal. A good deal has, and I'm kind of going down a little tangent here, a good deal really doesn't have anything to do with the price as much as it has to do with being competitively priced. But when both the buyer and the seller are happy with what they're getting. And we decided that in that situation for our customers, because what we thought was, and what we kicked around was, do we wait till 2026 to add this application into our program, or do we do it now? And we could talk ourselves into both answers being the right answer. So what we ultimately decided to do after quite a bit of discussion on it was, let's just go ahead and implement it now and make it part of our program next year for everybody. And if somebody wants to opt out, just like now, people opt out of applications, right? So, but what we do know as a fact is weed pressure starting earlier and weed pressure is going longer than it did. I mean, we see that from where we had a 4-round application back in 1989, and we're at 8 this year, and we just added 9. Now, does that mean all your customers need 9 applications? Absolutely not. But what it does mean, we've got a program for people that do want to keep their lawns basically as close to weed free as we can. We don't guarantee a weed free lawn because I'm not going to say it's unachievable, but sooner or later something's going to pop in somebody's yard. I mean, it just is. You're going to get a thin area, then you're going to have something pop in, but it's easily controllable. That's the other side of it for some weeds. Now, some aren't. But for us, getting back to our decision we made and to talk about it a little bit, and I'd love to get your all's feedback on it. But we decided to handle it this way, and that was to go ahead and implement it this year for anybody that was on our full program, and that would be our 8-round system. Anybody that was receiving 6 or less, we were holding on. We held off on them until our implementation next year to see if they want to opt in on that application. But we're trying to get a feel for our customer base on, hey, just because we think they need another application, that doesn't necessarily mean that our customers think they need another application. right? I think that's a fair assessment. And so we decided, okay, let's let our customers decide. And that way it would give us a really good test market, if you will, of our own customer base. And that's who we're concerned with whenever we make a change like this. And it's not frequently, but obviously from 1989 to now, when we've went from 4 applications to now 9, we've had this transition in the past. And what history has told us, that we're better off implementing that new application in the season rather than hitting somebody at the end of the season with a renewal at a higher rate, and they don't really comprehend that, oh, it's not just a higher rate, but there's another application involved. So that's why we've found, just for us, it's worked really well doing it this way, you know. um, I appreciate that, Mike, and I'll address that here in just a second. But so we'll find out. I mean, so far today and over the weekend, because here's what we did. Here's what we did with it. And I'll share this with you because a lot of people say, well, how do I do something like that? And let me first of all say this: don't make it harder than what it's got to be, number one. Don't think too hard about it. This is one of those things that, as a business owner, you could easily overthink, and you could easily be scared, and you could easily, not literally scared, but you know what I mean. You could easily get hung up into, oh God, what's it going to do? How many people are we going to have to get mad and cancel? Uh, well, so far we haven't had any cancel. Now, it's only been 5 days. Okay. So we don't foresee anybody canceling. There's no reason for anybody to cancel. They can opt out, so we don't foresee that we're going to have a cancellation over it. We have had 3 customers already that have called and said, hey, I do want to opt out of that extra application. And that's okay. Basically what we did, we shot everybody an email and said, hey, keep an eye on your paper box, because we've got something new coming out. And we need to, basically, I'm not going to read the letter to you, but basically said, we got a new application that we're adding. Keep an eye on your paper box or your mailbox. We're going to be sending a letter out for you, but explaining in detail what we're doing. But basically, because of weed issues that we've had and consistently the last few years and the season, it seeming like and it's not that the weeds are any different in the summer. We're having to start our broadleaf weed control earlier because of need from the clients, and so because we start earlier, then we were finishing a little bit earlier. And when we were finishing, like, let's say now or this week, like we finished our round 5 up last week. Okay. Well, we knew we couldn't go skip the month of September without any broadleaf weed control. Just, we're not going to do it. I mean, even though you got a lawn in really good shape, if we went from September 1 till a frost with no weed control, all the hard work that's been put in could be compromised. So that's why we decided to go ahead and change our program up now, because that's worked successfully for us in the past when we've added applications. And it's just another continuation of Mother Nature driving the bus. We get on the bus with her, but she's the one that drives the bus. And so that's why we decided to do it the way we did it. Like I said, we don't foresee any cancellations because it's an opt out opportunity. And that's something else I want you guys to think about, because I get that question quite a bit when we're coaching people is, hey, if we add something new, do we have everybody opt in or opt out? We found it's easier to have people opt out. Okay. Because we have done it before many years ago where we had people to, hey, tell us you want this application. And because we were having them opt in, if you will, right? Well, the reality of that was a lot of people wanted in, but didn't call, so we didn't do it. And then they're like, I got weeds, and well, oh, hey, we extended our program. Well, yeah, but I remember getting a letter, I think, but I didn't, blah, blah, blah. So that's why we changed it to, okay, the way our letter reads is, hey, here's something new that we're doing. We've added an application in bold and black and all caps. If you do not want this application, let us know by August 25th. And it's we got a short turnaround time on it because we want them to make that commitment, yes or no, to opt out right away. Now, we also know that we may have a situation or two where somebody says, y'all made an application and I really didn't want it, and that's going to be okay. We're not going to jeopardize a residential customer over a $50 or $60 lawn application. I mean, we're just not going to do it because our customer acquisition cost is greater than that. And so, but we do know that it is much easier to do it this way. So when I say this way, having a customer opt out of a service rather than opt in, and it will save you a ton of time. Let's see what we got here text wise. I think that's fair. Good idea. I'll probably copy you guys on that actually. No problem. That's why we share our ideas here on Turfs Up Radio and in the Profit Circle. As a matter of fact, we'll go in a lot more detail in the Profit Circle just because we got more time. He says I had the exact conversation with a client. Mother Nature just opened the window a little bit more for us, but these product windows of coverage stays the same. Bigger windows lets more in. And that's exactly right, Mike. I mean, that's the problem with, in the spring when you're seeing, dandelions beginning to pop, or actually hen bit before your dandelions in our market. That's generally what we see coming on first, other than some chickweed that from the winter, you know, we used to not even have that problem. Daniel, I can say that was a April problem generally, or used to be, or at least late March. But I mean, now it can be mid February, early March where we're seeing those weeds. And the weird thing about it is, I mean, a lot of this stuff is based on what's called a heating degree day in the industry, but we're not going to get into all that. But maybe we'll get Stephen or somebody to talk about that one day with us. But the reality of it is, Mother Nature has opened up that window, and we want to have a solution for our customers. Do we want to have 9 applications? Probably not. Do we want to have 3 applications? Probably not. So we let the customer choose the number of applications they're going to receive during the year, but we present to them a full program that will get them callbacks if necessary. But so we're not. In other words, what I mean by that is we're not going to have somebody sign up and for say 5 applications a year and call and tell us they got weeds. If we go back to respray, it's not going to be a free application. We'll do a respray if needed for somebody that's on our full program, but that's just the advantage of being on a full program, and I think that's an ethical business practice. Just curious to get y'all's opinion on that. You guys that are out there spraying, if anybody wants to comment on that. I think there's certain things that we do from an ethical standpoint for people that, sign up for, like in that case, a full program. Hey, and if you've got a weed issue, then hey, we'll come out and respray for you, But if you're picking and choosing your applications, then we'd be happy to come out and service the property for you, but there'd be an additional cost. Otherwise, it's not fair to our other customers that are on our full program. So that's just how we do it. And and what we also have found is it's almost not almost it is. Our ultimate goal in lawn care is to increase turf density to where that in itself is the best defense against weeds and not herbicides. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I mean, that is our ultimate goal is to, hey, let's increase turf density So that in itself becomes a better weed defense on properties. But what a lot of consumers want to do is put the, we'll call it responsibility, put the responsibility on the lawn guy. Well, why do I have weeds? Well, yeah, you're on our lawn program, but you haven't aerated, you haven't overseeded, you haven't done any slit seeding in these thin areas. You know, when people see thin lawns, generally, yeah, and I'm gonna feel comfortable saying this. Generally, that means we've done our job with getting rid of weeds. You know, and when you explain it to people sometimes like that, most of the times they get it. Like, hey, you know, it we're going to kill weeds. That's what these applications are designed to do. That we're getting during the growing season predominantly is to manage broadleaf weeds and annual grasses that you don't want. But when we kill a weed out, what's that leave? That leaves a bare spot. So when we have a bare spot, what's the first thing that's going to be in there? And that's another weed if we don't increase turf density. And that's why it's up to you as the professional to sell your customers, not just to sell them something, but to sell them the concept, because conceptually in reality, it makes sense that, hey, if we're killing weeds and we're creating bare spots, the only thing that's going to keep that weed out of that bare spot is turf grass. But unfortunately, turf grass is not going to fill itself in fast enough for us. So, hey, what we need to do is, hey, during the summer, in the spring, we're going to manage the weeds. We're going to kill some of the weeds. And then now, this time of the year for cool season grasses, is when we're going to do our aeration and our overseeding. Or in worst case scenarios, is when we're going to do our renovations. And I think that's where it goes back to giving your customer the value of the service that you provide and not selling the cost of the service that you provide. Because at the end of the day, herbicides are designed to work and do what they're supposed to do. But from a BMP standpoint, and that's the way we all need to be thinking about it, our best management, right? Practice. Let's do what we need to do to increase turf density and let that be the weed barrier. And then we can utilize less herbicides to achieve that same goal. So let's kill some weeds, let's plant some grass, and understand that. And we put quite a bit of information out on this, and if you don't, you need to. And Stephen, I believe, talked about it the other day. Daniel, didn't he talk about the life expectancy of a grass plant? I think I think it was him.
No, it wasn't him. That was Sam Huff.
Sam Huff was talking about that. And but that's the reality of it is, and we educate our customers on that every year, that you know grass plants are like anything. They've got a lifespan, and generally it's about 7 years. So if you're not constantly, when I say constantly, each year adding to that, then attrition alone, it's kind of like losing customers for whatever reason. You lose customers through attrition. You lose grass plants through attrition. Take the time and make the effort, to build up that turf density. Let's see. I like that method. My program is still young, so I'm all ears. But one thing that hurt me is, or saved me, depending on your perception, I've only been selling faux programs. And that's predominantly what we do, Mike, is, I'd say, I don't know, I'd have to pull a number to look, but I would say probably 80% minimum of our customers are on our full program. And, but what we didn't want to do was lose the customers that wanted 5 applications a year or 6 applications a year. and not just for the application side of it, but for the upsell opportunity of not just lawn program, but landscaping work, of fungicide applications, insecticide applications, things that are go at a different price and a higher price. So you may have somebody that says, "Hey, man, as long as my weeds are green, I'm good. I just want to do a little fertilizer, put pre-emergent down a couple times a year, and I don't want to see the dandelions. So schedule me for a spring application and a fall application. Other than that, if they're green, they're okay." And that gives us an opportunity to satisfy that customer to the level that they want to be satisfied. And that's exactly right, Mike. It does turn into a good, better, best presentation, you know. And like I said, the benefits to the customer on our full program is there's no excuses coming back from us to them on why they've got a weed, other than, hey, you're going to see weeds in between applications, but ideally we're going to cut those down to a minimal amount of problem because of the frequency of the applications. And then in the fall, we're going to aerate it and overseed it. And I think that's a big miss for a lot of lawn care companies, is the percentage of their customers that they don't aerate, at least aerate, and then overseed. And I know there's different research on the benefits of aeration, but personally, I like the machine that pulls the plug out of the ground versus simply putting a hoe in the ground. Because to me, if you're doing it for a compaction issue and you're running an aerator over somebody's property that's simply pushing a hoe in the ground without removing the core, then you're just taking an area that's tighter and making it tighter. Kind of like, when you sit down and eat a big meal and you're like, God, I feel bloated, man. That's the analogy I try to use with our customers when they say, "Well, why do you want why do you want to pull that plug and leave those plugs? You know, pull that plug out of the ground." Well, for the same reason, if you eat a whole lot and you joke about it, man, I'm gonna go home and loosen my pants. Well, it's the same. That's the same thing with aeration. You use a machine that pulls the plug out. It allows that soil to expand out. Those cores break down within a week to 10 days generally. Mowing cycle, they're gone. And it's an outstanding organic layer uh, for your lawn, when they break down. So you're not compromising by using a machine that pulls the plug out. That's just my 2 cents worth on it. And be happy to, hear anybody else's ideas on why they do it or don't do it, based on which machine they're using. But I know a lot of guys don't want to go in the hollow tine aeration business because of the cost of the tines are very expensive. I know just the other day we replaced some on our machine, and I think they were saying, when we ordered some of replacement tines, they were like $105 a piece or something, and which is less expensive than just a steel rod that's going to be poked in the ground to make a hole. But we feel like it's better value for our customer to use that machine. So, kind of got off on a tangent on aeration there a little bit, but I just, like I said, our ultimate goal is to create turf density and weed prevention through a well designed and or good plan to have a well established lawn. And something that Dr. Powell, God rest his soul, with the University of Kentucky, taught me too. He said, Wayne, he said, a big thing to remember in lawn care too is this: that the better condition you get the lawn in, the more maintenance it's going to require. And I didn't understand that at first, but after a few years treating lawns, I began to understand it pretty quickly. And the whole point was, there's not a whole lot of disease and funguses that like weeds. So when you do put together a good lawn for somebody. In other words, you've got the weeds under control. You're going out, you're aerating it, you're overseeding it, you're getting a better stand of grass, the turf density is better. Then you're creating a really nice host property, if you will, for possibly disease and fungus issues because of, and that's where we got to be careful not to over fertilize and not to overpopulate the lawn, if you will, with too many grass plants. Because when we overpopulate the lawn or get it too thick, that's as bad, if not worse, than not thick enough because we're not getting any airflow. It's kind of like putting too many people on an island, right? I mean, you take an island, any given size, a certain amount of people are going to fit on it comfortably. Your yard's the same way, your lawns are the same way. You know, if we get them too thick and we're not getting airflow through it, then we're going to have a lot more disease and fungus susceptibility to those. So the fine balance is the hard part, and we find that balance through applications and best management practices. Mowing height being a big one. Uh, Mowing frequency, very important to establishing a good, well established lawn. But anyways, I did want to share with y'all about us adding an application to our program and how we decided to go about doing it. And it's been a couple years coming. I'll let you guys know how it pans out with our existing customer base that we sent our mailing out to. But like I said, we've had 3 or 4, I think, that have called and opted out already today and are over the weekend. But and that's okay. But we want to give them the opportunity. That's what we want to do. So, with that being said, Timmy and Robin, if you're listening, drive safe, my friends, and be careful getting back here to Kentucky. I know you guys, they got a pretty good drive coming from South Dakota. Probably going to break it up into a couple days. And I was actually going to give them a call, man. We just never got to it. But Robin's trying to run their business through their cab of their truck as they're driving. So I get that too. So give them that professional courtesy. But you guys be safe. Appreciate you listening to Turfs Up Radio. We got our Profit Circle meeting coming up. Daniel will get a mailing out on that. Our monthly webinar, we're going to talk about scripts and how to implement scripts into your business for all aspects of your business during that. Looking really forward to that. Going to have a couple of special guests involved in that with us as well. So have a couple speakers that one you guys have not heard, and in a completely different field, but how they use scripts on a daily basis too within their business. And a lot of you are going to say, well, we don't use a script. Hey, whether you got it written down or not, man, you're using a script. It's just in your mind. But when you want to scale your business and you want somebody else to tell the same story, you need to have something for them to go by. And it's not that you're reading a script, but you learn a script to know what the answers are going to be for different questions that you know are going to come up within your industry. With that being said, you guys have a great day. Appreciate you tuning in. Stay tuned in to Turfs Up Radio. Share Turfs Up Radio with all your business friends that you know, not just landscapers and mowing contractors, but everybody. There's a ton of small business information that is shared across the board here, and we can't make it any different. We can't make it any better if you don't share it. But we do appreciate you listening. We'll see you Wednesday. Have a great day, and remember, profit is not a dirty word.